People's Czech Republic. What is the Czech Republic famous for far beyond its borders? Tourists will first of all mention impressive imagination and grace, architecture, castles, cathedrals, bridges, monuments, squares, fairy tale houses, as well as pristine nature, hospitality, incredible variety of quality beer, cuisine, effective and famous health resorts, magic of Bohemian glass. But many people know much less about the national clothes and traditions of the Czech Republic. Alas, although the Czech Republic is not the largest country in Europe, Czech folk art is one of the brightest in the world and is filled with quite deep meaning. How wise and meaningful throughout centuries, for example, is a tradition in South Moravia of placing mannequins representing the newlyweds on a fifth wheel that was towed behind the cart. This showed the groom and the bride how to maintain balance in family relations. On the first day of their married life, this gets both husband and wife used to equality and equal responsibility in the family.
On the one hand, it was just amusing to watch these two dummies, but in fact, it was a hint of how everything is arranged in family relationships. Sometimes worse, sometimes better, but both should work.
This riding was called "to go through life." Equally significant is the Equestrian Ride of Kings, a monument of UNESCO's intangible heritage which has been carefully observed by some villages in the southeast of the Czech Republic since pre-Christian times. On the one hand, this tradition is an initiation of 18-year-old boys into the adult population of the village, and on the other, an old custom to protect the shelter of peasants and the harvest from adversity. The king is a teenage boy dressed in a woman's outfit with a white rose in his mouth, a symbol of innocence and silence. Perhaps it is a hint that it is more important to listen than to speak. And all this is the Czech Republic. Bright, warm-hearted, People's Czech Republic. Equally impressive and meaningful are traditions inherent in the national costumes of the Czech Republic. They were created by masters not only with great imagination, but also with a certain meaning. All that is important to learn about a person when meeting with him can be learned from his dress. For example, in many villages of South Moravia, the number of feathers in the headdress of a man spoke of his status as a warrior. One feather meant that man had not yet served. A legrut, that is a conscript, wore 2 feathers, and 3 feathers, those who returned from war or the army. Particular attention in costumes was paid to details that defined the marital status. A wreath of flowers, for example, is an attribute of an unmarried girl. But in some villages this was not enough, and one more distinctive side was invented. The unmarried were to wear a white back apron, and the married a black. In the Blata region, located in South Bohemia, the headgear suggests how many years the spouses have been married. The first year after the wedding, a young woman wears a shirt kerchief, and the rest of her family life a very long one, below the belt. Costumes of Czech men also have similar distinctive details. If a man is not married, his hat, for example, in the village of Lchnov, must have a red ball and the embroidery a sparrow. In some villages of southern Slovakia, the single status of a man is indicated by bright rosemary, which is a rather large construction of multicolored ribbons. At the wedding, these details were removed from the headdress. If a guy wooed and his girl reciprocated, the newly made bride showed his busy status by giving him a kerchief, which he had to wear until the wedding. In different regions of the Czech Republic, guys used kerchiefs in different parts of their costumes. In Blata, for example, they put it around their necks. In Lchnov, they hung it on their waistcoats. In Uherský Ostroh, Podlužík, Dolní Němči, they ran it through the descending bridge.
Among the people, this is a popular gift of love: an embroidered shirt, an embroidered kerchief, a buttonhole bouquet for a hat. Kerchiefs that ran through pants fly were very often used in the regions of Bornatsko, South Morava. A bride embroidered love letters and songs on them.
A handkerchief served as a symbol of respect for each other and the innocence of the relations of young people. Before the wedding, no one had the right to touch the other with bare hands, only through a handkerchief. That is why the handkerchief is an indispensable attribute of the youth, especially during dances, and one of the important decorations of the Czech national costume. A very touching and deeply symbolic element of the Czech national clothes is vodnice. This cloak is the best of folk art. Handmade by mother or godmother, it was passed from generation to generation and was the talisman of the whole family.
This cloak was used only a few times in a whole life. A bride wore it at the wedding, mother with a child wrapped in it went to church for initiation, godmother wore it to carry a child to the church for christening.
And all this is the Czech Republic, bright, warm-hearted, People's Czech Republic. Even more impressive are the designs of masters of national costumes, their embroidery techniques, sewing technology, blaze of colors and decorations. That's where our ancestors applied the true power of their creative imagination. Perhaps craftsmen had an unspoken competition, which resulted in the creation of bright, original and unique costumes in different regions of the Czech Republic. Not just regions. In the Moravian part of the Czech Republic, even individual villages often have their own national costumes.
In the Czech Republic, there are very beautiful Czech and Moravian national costumes, which differ in each region.
One of the most expressive components of the Czech national costumes is first of all sleeves. They can have barely conceivable forms. The size of the sleeve is also an important detail of the costume. Not only women like dresses with the most bizarre, large expressional sleeves. The technology of manufacturing sleeves is also unusual. Particularly surprising is the Vrapení style, which is often used in making sleeves of women's national costumes of Moravia. An equally important component is the collar. Czech girls in many regions preferred large, lush collars and their fancy styling, instead of beads and necklaces. The standard of beauty for many villages of Moravia is also a bouffant skirt and the originality of its form. Some masters brought the number of sleeves to the maximum possible amount. A number of incredible creative details are used in the manufacture of female aprons. There are gentle or pompous embroidery, intricate lacework, beaded sparkling figures. The shape of the apron is also very interesting. In many villages of Moravia, it consists of 4 colorful embroidered strips. More correctly, these 4 strips are called trachky, and the apron is the lower part of the female costume. Many Moravian girls do not have skirts, but one can say that they have 2 aprons. The front apron is the fertušek, and the rear is the fertach, whose color, as we said before, says whether the girl is married or not. And all this is the Czech Republic, bright, warm-hearted, People's Czech Republic. Hats are no less original and important. The leaders, of course, are the hairdressers of flowers, and these are not only wreaths of all shapes and sizes, but also very fanciful designs. Both girls and guys like to decorate their heads with flowers. And they do it not only with national costumes, but even with official ones. For example, at the Shrovetide festivities. Perhaps it is for such beauty that this tradition is included in the UNESCO list of intangible heritage. The tradition is unthinkable without kerchiefs, which are often supplemented by a wide variety of elements. Especially loved by girls and women of the Czech Republic are Turkish kerchiefs. Pretty girls also use them in the most incredible combinations of design. Some regions have developed even more unusual hats. They are crowns with fancy supplements, ornate cylinders, a horned cap decorated with ribbons, and even a huge bow as if hung in the air. Accessories are also quite original and just as vivid in national Czech costumes. The main emphasis, for example, of all Moravian male costumes is in the belt. It is often wide with a colorful pattern, and sometimes there can be even a few. At the biggest holidays in many regions of the Czech Republic, men are decorated with long compositions made of ribbons called mashle. Even shoes are sometimes decorated with sufficiently expressive details. A male boot in Podluží has a violet tassel which jumps gaily during a dance, as well as hearts and other patterns that can be seen from a distance. Similarly, red hearts and scarlet bows make shoes of girls in Ghana perfectly nice. Even such parts of men's pants as the fly can be used for decoration. It is probably done with intent to implicitly draw attention to the symbol of manly strength. Bright originality and unusual artistic decisions can be seen in every Czech ornament, embroidery, pattern, lace technology. Subjects of embroideries are suggested by Czech people's mentality and sense of beauty. Judging by the range of colors and ideas used in embroideries, it is absolutely clear that the Czechs are a cheerful and open people, and very creative. Flowers and birds, real and imaginary, variety of materials and forms. No less stunning are the techniques of embroidery: hem-stitch, simple cross-stitch, Bulgarian cross-stitch, Richelieu embroidery, Rococo, sewn embroidery, Jacobine embroidery, embroidery with woolen threads, globally famous Czech beadwork, unique embroidery in silver and gold.
A někdy tato výšivka je doprovázána i velkým množstvím.
Sometimes this embroidery included many gold or silver coins, various polished glass beads, and what is typical of Bohemia, these caps had artificial gunnets. A very rich peasant woman or a girl from a rich estate could afford a bonnet with natural Czech gunnets.
Tak si mohla dovolit ten čepec doplněný pravými českými granáty.
What can we say about embroidery which at first glance looks alien-like and in reality contains fish scales? And all this is the Czech Republic, bright, warm-hearted, People's Czech Republic. To get acquainted with the Czech national art closer, you need to visit its diverse parts.
In our region, we can invite you to the landscape complex Lednice Walters. This is a very famous complex, which was built by the Liechtensteins in the 18th, 19th centuries. It includes castles of Lednice, Walters and Mikulov. Then we will invite you for a tour on the channel of Betty, Morav.
Another attraction of the Podluží microregion is its national costume.
Starej precu a vít na hrázi, mysliveček sa tam prochází, streliu na lišku, trepiu Marišku, Mariška už leží na blížku. Pěkná sama milá, pěkná zdáš.
The first striking thing about the men's national costume of Podluží is bright red and richly embroidered pants, as well as complex technique of making sleeves for a man's shirt and a female apron. The skirt of girls is very lush with 7 and sometimes 9 half sleeves. It can be of a variety of colors, but always monochrome. Both men's and women's shoes are original, and so is the headgear. The masculine kosirjik is multicolored and decorated with no less than a feather of a grey crane. Women's headgear, little horns, is generally considered to be unique for its form first of all, but also for the most complex hair braiding in addition to it.
Girls used to go to the braider because everyone had long hair. In every village there was a woman who knew how to do such a hairstyle. Today, hair pieces are used that girls attach to their hair. In Vlčnov, in addition to other monuments of folk architecture, there is a unique complex of wineries called Budy. It is a protected cultural monument.
Almost throughout the world, Vlčnov is famous for its old tradition, the equestrian ride of kings. But not only for this.
One of the main symbols of Vlčnov in terms of traditions is the Vlčnov folk costume. It is unique, it is worn in one single village, and therefore it is a rare exception for the Slovatsko region. These are the most elegant costumes that a girl and a boy can wear in Vlčnov. This is the outfit for the bridesmaid at the wedding.
First of all, both the male and female costumes of Vlčnov are striking with the size and location of huge red brushes on the waistcoats, which are called kits, as well as with peculiar and rich embroidery in the form of hearts. Both costumes have original forms and fancily embroidered shirts. Especially unusual is the female sleeve made in the Vrapini technique. It is an exceptional Vlčnov style characterized by the embroidery technique and the pattern with birds in it. A large lace collar and ruffles of sleeves make girls tenderer.
Now embroidering is done with a machine, and earlier each woman embroidered herself by hand.
The lower part of the costume is rather lush, not long, and always red. The trachki are embroidered with expressive colors and decorated in every possible way. And the bridesmaid's chaplet looks just amazing. It is unusual not only outside.
Until now, people have woven into hair. From behind, it is a bonnet with attached ribbons. This part is attached to the hair first. In ancient time, it was sewn to the hair.
Men's headdress also belongs to the exclusive Vlčnov style. Its main feature is a pendant of multicolored balls. Vrbice is a wine region which is famous above all for its wine cellars in Sandy Rock, as well as for the Church of St. Julia and the guest house on the crypts. The national costume of Vrbice is of great interest too. Perhaps the brightest in color among the Czech men's costume is from Vrbice. It has everything bright. Embroidery on the shirt with a right of floral motifs. Embroidery on the waistcoat called label, which is an amazing contrast of folk ornaments on black fabric. And of course, embroidery on pants, all colors of the rainbow and more on a yellow fabric.
This is imitation deerskin. Deerskin was an expensive material. Old records say that it was so expensive that families even passed it from father to son. Therefore, over time, people began to use fabric.
A women's costume of rbice is a kind of waistcoat, a delicate crocheted lace collar, and an even more delicate apron, embroidered or decorated with flowers. The volume and shape of the skirt catch our imagination, monochrome but of different colors.
The upper skirt is of brocade, and under it there are 6 starched half-sleeves. 6.
The half-sleeves are made so that the front skirt looks like a square, and behind it is a real dress of the queen. Eye-popping are the stockings with little thick white bumps. On their heads, men wear ornate shmukach, and some single guys wear a rosemary of ribbons. Girls wear a Turkish kerchief or a green wreath of flowers. For special merits, a girl may wear the kotuch.
On the Stark, a female master of the Fist Hodi parade had the right to wear the kotuch.
Main attraction of Blata is one of the most famous masterpieces of Czech architectural art, the castle in Hluboka nad Vltavou.
Sobeslav, as a South Bohemian city, is known for its rich history, especially the Rosenberg era. Interesting from ethnographic point of view are the surrounding villages in a typical South Bohemian Baroque style, with stucco ornamentation, large manors, folk architecture.
Perhaps as fascinating as other places of interest in the Blata region is its national costume.
V Boňským zámku mám tam hezkou holku, dobře já ji znám. Rád ji mám, dokud já ji objímám. Jak ji z ruky pustím hned, na jinou myslím, potěš pámu sám. Rád ji mám, dokud já ji objímám. Jak ji z ruky pustím hned, na jinou myslím, potěš pámu sám.
And while the male costume is almost classic for this part of Europe, for its brightest element is an elegant shirt with floral embroidery and lace, the female outfit with its amazing features is really outstanding. Indeed, the crown of the female national costume of Blata, both literally and figuratively, is the festive headdress of the bridesmaid. Although, apart from the crown, her head is adorned with many other distinctive elements.
Typické čepení.
A typical headdress consists of a crown and studs that hold everything on the head.
Jehlic, aby vše na hlavě drželo.
The skirt is large and elongated. It can be of different colors, but is always decorated with bright braid. Both the blouse and apron in all ages were decorated with typical Blata embroideries.
Původní zástěry byly vyšívaný jenom
The first aprons were embroidered with ordinary threads, like this.
ale to bylo vyšitý tak.
Then a new method appeared.
Byl takovej, vyšilo bílou.
The pattern was embroidered with white thread. Then the cloth was cut, lace was added inside, and this final pattern appeared.
Ale ve finále potom se celá ta výšivka
After that, the whole pattern was beaded around several times. Then sequins were added, and as a result, the apron looked very rich.
Vypadala opravdu velice bohatě.
Seems like there is nothing more beautiful than bead embroidery with appliques of different types of laces. But craftswomen came up with a more amazing idea: fish scale embroidery.
Rybí šupiny,
We have a lot of fish scales because we are a fishing region.
Proleva zpěvati pro vás, děvčata.
In Kyiv, there are a number of famous sites. One of them is the Museum of Local Lore of Kyiv, housed in a castle. Above it, there is the Church of St. Martin. Among natural attractions, in the Milotitsi region, the Sand Pond and the Gorky region are worth visiting.
Kyiv is an original region of the Czech Republic. Its national costumes have a common style, but are very diverse. Southern Kyiv also has its history and features.
Kijove, Kijove, ty pěkné městečko, co jsem se nachodil, moja galanečko. Ej, co jsem se nachodil, moja galanečko, od něčí s chodníčkem po městě Rinečku.
The special Kyiv style is expressive black and white embroidery. But besides embroidery, a man's suit has many other details and accents.
Wide sleeves, embroidered pants, richly embroidered short waistcoat.
What else could be possibly done to decorate such a man's suit? But over time, there appeared another indispensable detail of the pants.
Men received a kerchief from their girlfriends, which they ran through the fly.
A women's costume is as fancy. First of all, a colorful, brightly embroidered apron.
Diagonally to the corners runs a rich embroidery, strips decorated with flowers. And along the edges of the hem, the Kyiv apron is adorned with the so-called bobbing Croatian lace.
You feel impressed by authentic beauty and features in the technology of making the collar and sleeves. You will never and nowhere see a collar similar to that of the South Kyiv girls. The hems of sleeves in the women's costume should not hang, but stand in a circle almost parallel to the ground. The headgear of an unmarried man should have two feathers, to be precise, left and right. However, the headdress design of an unmarried girl of South Kyiv is much more elaborate.
The most festive way to tie a kerchief in the Kyiv region is the ridini. This suggests tying a Turkish kerchief as a bonnet. Bridesmaids wear wreaths of multicolored flowers, the bride white flowers.
A nevěsta nosí věneček z bílých kvítků.
Ujerský Ostrov can propose a lot to see. In the center there is a castle with a courtyard, a tower and arcades. Across the river Morava is an arch bridge. Not far from the city there is the famous chateau complex Bukhlov. Ostrov national costumes are also impressive. There is a lot of orange color in the male waistcoat. Its front and back have orange pom-poms made using a very interesting technology. The lower part of the female costume is even more amazing, especially from the rear. The fartuch must stand at an angle of 90 degrees and is also decorated with lace rachkas.
And here you can see a beautiful form is formed by a special half-sleeve.
Women's outfit is complemented by mashle, which is hand-painted ribbons. They can be everywhere, at the waist, called stuga, in the hair and in the headdress.
Black, orange and red are the main colors in Austria, typical for embroidery on both female and male costumes.
On special occasions and in church, unmarried girls wear an extraordinarily beautiful wreath, chipenin. It is tall in warm colors and richly decorated with beads.
The costume used to be worn without earring and other jewelry.
Surprising are the shape and volume of sleeves, both male and female. Men's sleeves implicitly emphasize the strength and importance of the male nature, and women's, the aristocracy and manners of the real lady.
In Pilsen, you should visit the Church of St. Bartholomew, located on the main square. This is a Gothic cathedral, and its tower is said to be the highest in Europe. There are also a number of monuments, museums and galleries, and you can also visit the Pilsner brewery.
Absolutely authentic and remarkable in its own way is the national dress of Plzeň and its suburbs.
Dejšinská šenkýřko, pivo nalej, pivo nalej, pivo nalej. Na to se nekoukej, že jsem malej, když jsem byl na vojnu odvedenej. Plzeňský pivíčko pěkně pění, kde pak je mý potěšení. Zavolejte mě jí, vždyť tu není, nastalo nám smutný rozloučení.
The Plzeň man deserves to be called a dandy mainly for his waistcoat and frock coat of good cloth, generously supplemented with gold buttons. And of course for an impressive headdress with ribbons and brushes. No less elegant is women's costume. It has several exclusively Plzeň details. First, a kind of apron, which is in fact a big striped two-color kerchief tied crosswise, and not on the head.
An unmarried girl wore 3 or more velvet ribbons, and the married woman 1 or 2.
And of course, a headpiece in the form of a huge bow gently decorated with lace.
The distinguishing feature of an unmarried girl's costume was a headdress, a bonnet with the so-called golubechka. This pattern was embroidered very nicely, and the bonnet was decorated with lace.
Plzeň girls have their little secrets.
A girl kept small change in a secret pocket.
Hana is a region of the Czech Republic and it has many different sides. The largest city of Hana, Olomouc, is even called the second Prague. No less interesting is Kojetín.
Here you can see the town hall. Rebuilt in the Art Nouveau style, the regional house and the medieval plaque pillar on the square. And we also have a very beautiful Jewish cemetery.
The national costumes of Ghana are unique, original and known far beyond the borders of the Czech Republic.
Tak se od něj posekále, až tam jedný ho zabíle, senečka milýho, jož vetekla loža krve ven z něho. Senečka milýho, jož vetekla loža krve.
The main feature of the Ghana costume is embroidery. It wonderfully combines two absolutely different patterns and colors.
Typical components of Ghana costumes are yellow and black embroidery.
The female outfit is virgin white with a large collar, an original style of a waistcoat, a rather long lower part and fancy shoes.
This is sort of love symbolism, which means that the girl is single. Married women wear less catchy shoes.
The men's suit includes a very elegant waistcoat. Pants are knee-length, sometimes like in Coetain in the Baroque style, with dance pleats. An important decoration is the belt. Men's hats are different but original. Unmarried girls wear wreaths. Bridesmaids and the bride herself wear a unique and individually decorated pantlik. Married women wear a peculiarly laid turchak, which says what city or village they are from.
The richer the bourgeois or the peasant, the richer the costume and embroidery. But it doesn't matter. Any Ghana costume is beautiful.
A nature attraction of Dolny Niemchi is the White Carpathians with unique orchids. Among historic sites, there is a museum with real exhibits, which are several hundred years old. Besides,
our village has very rich folklore, and we hold various events.
the national costume of Dolny Niemchi belongs to the Nimnica region, but it has its own peculiarities.
Dolina, dolina, dolinečka, pěkná je frajárečka. Keď bych za ňu došel večer pod okénečko, slúbí mě své srdéčko. Keď bych za ňu došel večer pod okénečko, slúbí mě své srdéčko. Dědina.
The costume of Dolny Niemchi is a peculiar ode to roses. They are everywhere.
Roses are used in embroidering hems of sleeves, ribbons, aprons.
Even men wear roses.
Elderly men do without decorations, but young men have a laced round cloth embroidered with roses, which we call rosa.
A man's waistcoat and pants have smart embroidery, and the belt is wrapped twice or even thrice around the body. A distinctive feature of the female costume is a dark green waistcoat with hearts on the chest and a regally raised collar. Hairdresses are a typical Czech style, although the tying of a kerchief is done in the original style of Dolny Niemchi. Same is the headdress of the bride and her friends.
A festive women's costume for a wedding or other rituals is supplemented with a pantlik, which is a specially decorated headdress.
And all this is the Czech Republic. Bright, warm-hearted, People's Czech Republic. The language of folk art is clear without translation. What do national traditions and costumes of the Czech Republic say? About the open heart of the Czech people, positive perception of the world around them, love for their native land, and harmony with nature. National costumes are the wisdom of generations and a deep sense of beauty that has survived through the ages.
Some costumes tell the story of the family with a more than 200-year-old history. This is the people's history, all that our ancestors lived with.
The Czech folk culture is still alive, though it's changing, of course.
History and modernity are not separable, they complement and change each other. With the development of society, national costumes cannot but change. Something is improving, but something, unfortunately, is irretrievably gone.
In recent years, over the past 50 years, the number of lower skirts has increased. They are wider and more tucked up. Skirts are shorter, and the boys' shirts had not been so richly embroidered before.
A kerchief is a new accessory. There was no kerchief in the original man's costume.
When factory production spread, there were more opportunities to buy a variety of industrial fabric, which were used for decoration more often. At first, aprons were only decorated with white embroidery. Then, red color was added, later green and yellow. In the post-war period, when the embroiderers wanted to facilitate their work, patterns grew larger. They did not have to make as many stitches in embroidery, so they began to add other colors. Although it is very common, this is not authentic Kyiv embroidery.
In many Czech cities and villages, people cherish their traditions, and they are happy to make and wear national costumes, and not only Independence Day.
Today, the costumes are worn mainly on holidays, different dates associated with the church.
Hodně se rozšířilo.
In the 30s of the 20th century, costume balls were very popular, and they are still very popular.
Jsou vlastně do dnešní doby velmi oblíbené.
Several times a year, a procession of national costumes, hody, takes place. It can be local, in a village or town, and national, similar to a carnival of folk art.
Unfortunately, in our region, there is no one left who would be engaged in the production of costumes all the time. A wreath is a completely unique thing. There is only one master who makes them.
Until recently, such belts were made by Jan Vražina, who unfortunately died and left no successors.
Making a new costume is very time-consuming. It takes a year at least to embroider an apron. And I am not young after all. Shoemakers are also very few. To date, there are probably only 3 shoemakers in Slobodsko who sew handmade shoes. And there is only one who makes shoes in Vlčnov style. Because of the complexity of manufacturing, no one wants to do it. The costume has always been difficult to make. Separate parts are made by special seamstresses, and we sew just simple parts. Those women in villages who used to do this died, so I do most of the work myself. It's sad that the generation is getting old. We hope that knowledge will be passed on to the next generations.
Now, family holidays are held in the national style more often.
Costumed weddings remained in the regions of Ochotsko, Hana, Central Morava.
In many regions of the Czech Republic, there are creative societies, sobory and kružky, that collect and present the cultural heritage of the Czech Republic to the public.
We can thank them for preserving the national costume in great variety.
And this means that creativity, ascending from the origins, will live.
This contribution to the national culture is very valuable. This is something that doesn't exist in industrial goods.
Kroje v České republice.
Costumes in the Czech Republic, both in Bohemia and Moravia, are a popular cultural heritage that is treasured by the current and future generations, as well as museums. Therefore, we try to safeguard these amazing costumes for the next generations.